What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to the Doubt Hour. Well, this is a quick live feed I wanted to have with you guys this evening. I'm your boy Deonte Burden, aka Mr. Short Dollar himself. Let me make sure I got this mic tuned in. Give me 1 second. Gotcha. Move this in a little closer. Be yelling and everything. I got a quick live feed with you guys tonight. Your boy been swamped with tax season, and I want to have a feed with you guys to discuss. I am coincidentally being a business owner, but I'm also a disabled veteran as well. And if you know, just like everybody else has seen, they've talked about the massive layouts with the VA and a lot of other different organizations and companies around the whole country that have done massive layouts, restructuring, and resizing up. And I ran across, this was Friday, boy, I've been swamped with tax season, but there was a message sent out from Doug Collins. He's the director of the VA on March 5th. And what I want to do is share the video. It was like a 4-minute clip that he released. And he was talking about, the events surrounding the downsizing of the VA and the VA outlook on the future, and have a discussion with you guys in regards to does the shrinking of the VA make sense? I got a perspective on it. Of course, I don't want anyone to lose their job. Me being a vet myself, I have no interest, no desire seeing anyone lose their jobs. But I do have a perspective on the way everything is going and everything has been going and where I think everything is heading. Like it, don't like it, but I think it's just one of the things, the way is, it is what it is with that. But I want to have that discussion with you guys tonight. Again, we're talking about does shrinking the VA make sense? Okay. And again, it's just going to be a quick live. Your boy been in and out. I had a meeting earlier today, and I meant to do this earlier, but I haven't had a chance to get in contact with everyone. But I wanted to touch base with this only because like it or don't like it, I look at it just with a lot of different agencies that are, especially government-based, even private companies with the downsides and everything. I think a lot of organizations, government and in the private sector, are going to be heading in this direction. Okay, so that's why I want to have that conversation with you guys tonight. We're going to be, again, discussing the shrinking of VA makes sense. Right now, I'm streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter. I do want to apologize to everybody that's looking at me, looking at everything on TikTok. You will not be able to see the stream. The stream is on StreamYard when I do the stream for Director Collins' message on the 5th. I apologize about that, but I can't get, TikTok doesn't connect to the StreamYard. But I do want to show that clip. It's a 4-minute clip, and it came out on the 5th of March. Let me see if I can get this going right quick. And we're going to have a discussion about it afterwards. Let me get this together. Well, your boy been swamped this tax season, boy. They've been beating your boy up. Let's see where we at. Boom, boom. 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 And let me see if I can get presto with this.
Hey everybody, it's Doug. I've always promised you I was going to shoot straight with you, and I was going to hear from me. Well, I got a bit longer message for you today, so just bear with me because you want to hear what I'm going to say. The VA has been a punching bag among veterans, Congress, and the media for decades. Things need to change. We owe America's veterans and the hundreds and thousands of excellent VA employees solutions. For many years, veterans have been asking for a more efficient, accountable, and transparent VA. This administration is finally going to give the veterans what they want. President Trump has a mandate for generational change in Washington, and that's exactly what we're going to deliver to the VA. We're going to make the department work better for the veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors we are charged with serving. And here's how we're going to do it. In response to President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency and Workforce Optimization Initiative, VA is conducting a department-wide review of its organization, operations, and structure. Central to these efforts is a pragmatic and disciplined approach to eliminating waste and bureaucracy, increasing efficiency, and improving health care, benefits, and services to veterans. This will be a thorough and thoughtful review based on input from career VA employees, senior executives, as well as the top VA leaders. Our goal is to reduce VA employment levels to 2019 in-strength numbers, roughly 398,000 employees, from our current level of approximately 470,000 employees. Now, that's a 15% decrease. We're going to accomplish this without making cuts to health care or benefits to veterans and VA beneficiaries. VA will always fulfill its duty to provide veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors the health care and benefits they have earned. That's a promise. And while we conduct our review, VA will continue to hire for more than 300,000 mission-critical positions to ensure health care and benefits for VA beneficiaries are not impacted. There are many people complaining about the changes we're making at the VA. But what most of them are really saying is, let's just keep doing the same thing at the VA has always done. No, not going to happen. The days of kicking the can down the road and measuring VA's progress by how much money it spends and how many people it employs rather than how many veterans it helps are over. Here's just one example. We're conducting a comprehensive review of the VA's 90,000 contracts, which are worth more than $67 billion. After reviewing roughly 2% of those contracts, we were able to cancel nearly 600 non-mission critical or duplicative agreements that will save the department roughly $900 million. Just imagine how much more we'll be able to save after we review the rest of VA contracts. The money we're saving by eliminating non-mission critical and duplicative contracts is money we're going to redirect to veteran-facing healthcare, benefits, and services, resulting in massive improvements in customer service and convenience. Improving services to the veterans is exactly why the VA exists. That is what everyone, Congress, the media, and VA employees should be focused on. There have been a lot of news coverage regarding recent layoffs at the VA. Now, we regret anyone who loses their job. It's extraordinarily difficult for me, especially as a VA leader and your secretary, to make these types of decisions. But the federal government does not exist to employ people. It exists to serve people. At the VA, we are focused on serving veterans better than ever before, and doing so requires changing and improving the organization. Look, the VA was never perfect, and it will never be perfect, but we can and will make it better. When we find problems, we will fix them. We will communicate what we are doing to the public. That's what I'm doing right now. But we'll be making major changes, so get used to it. Right now, VA's biggest problem is that its bureaucracy and inefficiencies are getting in the way of customer convenience and service to veterans. As I have said before, we owe American veterans and hundreds of thousands of amazing employees solutions, and mark my words, that is what we will deliver.
Okay, that was the video from VA Director Doug Collins, and he was pretty much just giving. This was a March 5th video they had released on Twitter. I got the email because I'm, like I said, I'm a disabled vet, and I got the email. They're just giving a notice to the current veterans that are receiving benefits from the VA. Well, let's unpack everything. One of the things I think about that, we hear in the news, you see a lot of the federal agencies with, since President Trump took over. And keep in mind, guys, when I do my streams or one of my videos, I stay neutral with everything. Don't, as far as what the party did this or party did that, I don't really get too tough. I can't, I just try to stay neutral so we can just look at actually the issue in regards to just taking our feelings out about who did what, whether we don't like this person or not. Long story short, when I was looking at the actual video, what was sticking with me was, when they were bringing up that they're laying off, they're looking at the levels they have right now. They had 470,000 employees. They're trying to shrink it down to 390,000. That's 15% decrease. All the while, they're going to look to hire 300,000 people. Okay, check this out. Okay, see, here's the thing that, again, this is, where I looked at everything. You guys know I have a background in supply, I have a master in supply chain. And one of the key things we start talking about the whole, supply chain, we look at efficiencies and effectiveness, and that was one of the key words he kept saying. The whole model, I think, the way the federal government, especially where they have Elon Musk running Doge and everything, they're looking at it, to be totally honest with you, just, having this lean, mean machine in regards to having, being the most efficient with having the least cost, spending the less, and being able to just be effective as possible, and they'll be able to deliver the services. The whole human aspect of it, I don't even feel like that's coming into the mix. The weird part about all this is, I think one of the biggest things that I think people that actually in this past election, this is probably the last thing that they was looking at, the approach. When a lot of times people hear that the government is wasting money, you got bureaucracies and stuff like that. I think people were the pitch in my mind was more of a party thing, that the Democrats are doing this and the Democrats are doing that, and you guys need to just leave them alone and everything. And what's happening now is that it has nothing to do with party. It has everything to do with money. And I think that's probably what's catching everyone off guard. When you start looking at it, and this is probably one of the thought processes I look at it where they're heading at. They're looking at everything being top heavy. You know, a lot of these government agencies, you have people that have been employed 20, 30 years, maybe, you know, even let's just say 15 years, and making decent wages. I mean, just say anywhere from probably 70 plus. You know, you have people that have been there probably maybe 15 years to 20. They're probably making well over $100,000. The issue comes up with that is you're real top heavy, especially depending on what you're doing, right? When I say what you're doing, if it's an actual task where that, you know, you may have been doing it for 20 years, but someone can come off the street and be able to do it at a similar level, right? Not entry, it's not there's an entry level, but it's a particular task, say like customer service, maintenance, janitorial, security. And again, we're not talking about anybody's job or anything like that, but what I am looking at is the government is just looking at, hey, these jobs that people are making six figures for, that we probably can bring somebody in off the street and do the same task. You know, you may be missing some things with experience, but they're doing the same thing and we'll pay them $30,000. And I think that's what's going on. In theory, business theory, it makes sense, right? Because I remember my ex-wife, she was working at the airlines. That was one of the biggest things, I think, when they were looking, you know, to get the people to take the early retirement. It's like, hey, we're so top heavy with these people that have been here for years. We're going to offer you guys early retirement because you're making so much money, because we can bring people in that can do customer service. You know, it's kind of like we just train them and everybody's doing it. It doesn't take too much to do certain things. And, you know, they can reduce the cost, because, you know, with any organization, the biggest cost you have is payroll, right? And so in theory, it makes sense to do that. The issue comes is cold-blooded with people. And when you look at it from that perspective, you're not taking consideration people's mortgages. You're not taking in consideration their livelihood, things that their family might have going on, medical. It takes none of that in. It's just strictly business. And I think this is what happens when you get some business people, in charge. That whole empathy or thinking about what other people have going on, people just ignore it. And I think that's probably wasn't the wrong thing. That's really what I feel is going on now. You have people that, you know, you can look at it one side of it being cutthroat, but it is what it is. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of folks that probably voted for this administration get in were thinking about this happening, right? It's kind of like, hey, they betrayed us, this, that. I think they're doing things that they said they were going to do, but they didn't give the exact detail on how they were going to do it, and they just going to do it. Coincidentally, a lot of organizations are actually heading the same direction. They're looking at, you know, being as efficient and running as lean as possible, and they're looking at positions that probably they don't require a lot of expertise. You can't put a dollar. You can't really replace experience if experience is very technical. That makes sense. Someone that is a surgeon or an engineer at just say a level 4, 5, 6, you know, just for doing certain things, they aren't replaceable. You can't replace them with somebody just coming in the entry level. But again, a lot of positions, you know, especially from a customer service standpoint, some things where it just doesn't take a lot of certifications or experience, you can replace it. I'm not trying to have a conversation in my audience. Anybody want to add into the comment, please feel free to leave your comment. I'm not trying to say what's fair or what's right or wrong, because God knows I don't want anyone to lose a job, right? I no way in hell. But I understand what's going on now. And it's just, like I said, it's unfortunate sometimes when we don't scrutinize certain things or ask, because a lot of times, you know, just with politics, a lot of times people run on pain points with people. And many a times questions don't get asked. But the direction they're heading in, I think, you know, it makes sense from a business perspective. It's just from a human perspective, it can be extremely cruel, because I don't think when I hear that we're not going to do these things the way we've normally done, I don't necessarily know if it was done in a bad way, because that's one of the things about it. I'm just being honest with you. Me being a vet, that's one of the things you kind of look at like, hey man, look, I can maybe do 20 years in the military, and then I can get a job with the post office, with somewhere with the feds, and retire and do that, right? And those kind of, one of the incentives you may, have with doing that, because you get some kind of veterans preference with doing it. But that was one of the things, because everybody doesn't want to go out here and serve the country. They don't. Everybody doesn't. And even with working in the federal government, that's one of the things, like, hey, stability with doing it. And so when people get in those kind of positions, you kind of feel safe, right? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, fair or unfair. That's just usually how it is. And one side of it now, I think the side of it now, like, listen, this is not what that's for. It's not for you to get a feel like you have an incentive if you do serve in the military, or if you do start off working for the feds, that you can, retire and do certain things. You got a certain, performance points, certain things you need to attain. And I'm not saying they don't have standards. Like anything dealing with the government, I would believe that there are high standards within the department, especially being a former soldier myself. But I do think that a lot of times, when you work for an organization like that, especially in the federal government, you get comfortable. You can get real comfortable real quick. And I'm just looking at some of these numbers in regards to, when they said they're going to lay off that 15%, but also turn around and hire 300,000 people. I was looking at the comments in some of on the Twitter, and they were like, why in the world would you reduce it by 15% and then hire 300,000 people? And like I said before, you're trying to get that big top layer of people that have, again, you're looking at it with what they may deem, be it right or wrong. I have no damn idea what they're doing, what the criteria may be, but I'm just, from a mathematical standpoint, the people that may be getting paid the most, but doing something that can be interchangeable, someone with less experience. Someone's making, over 100, 120, $130,000. They've been there 20 some years. Hey, we need to get them out of there, and let's put somebody in that's making 30,000 doing the same thing. And when you trim the fat like that, then you hire new people. It's a whole lot cheaper to run everything. Again, it takes the whole emotional piece out of it. Like, hey, that's not fair or unfair. And we're just having a straight conversation. I understand that part. But I just really do believe people's minds were in another place probably this past election in regards to when they hear like, hey, government spending is more so the thought process, vision, and that this party was ruining money, and we're going to, make sure you guys, we're not going to waste money anymore. It's just, I don't think people are thinking like, hey, we're not going to waste money anymore on you, right? That's kind of how I took it with that, man. But it's a very tough way to look at it. Another thing that I thought was very curious, they brought up that there were 90,000 contracts, federal contracts with the VA, right? So I don't even have an idea how many there are with the federal government, period. And they were just looking to go over those, and they found, I think, what is it, 60 contracts that, and I apologize, I didn't get the exact number, so I don't even want to repeat it, but there were some contracts they felt what even, pertinent to the mission. So they got rid of those contracts. This is something I just want to share with people, right? On this YouTube channel, we pretty much give information from a financial entrepreneur standpoint. We're doing certain stuff. People, one of the biggest things I've seen an uptick in the past year, because I've been a YouTuber over 5 years. One of the biggest upticks I've seen with people, this federal contracting. We can get this, you can make all this money doing federal contracts. See, that's the bullshit I'm talking about right there. When people get loud, they start selling certain stuff and everything like that. Do not think that only the ears of the people that are hungry to get those contracts are the only people listening. So now you got a federal government looking at all this kind of stuff, like, hey, listen, these folks out here talking about they're getting these dang shoestring contracts, these bed sheet contracts. We got to relook some of this stuff up. We're giving out all this money out for these simple contracts. We're wasting money. We got to rethink it. And that's what happens a lot of time when you want to sit here and broadcast your damn business out there. I'm just putting it out there. Never, you never want to get in a situation where you're doing any kind of fraud, anything like illegal. So I mean, I don't even get into that BS or anything like that on the channel. But I am saying a lot of times when you sit here and run your mouth about certain things you're trying to do or whatever, that's what happens. That's what happened. He just brought up that all these different contractors that they have. It's not just employers. They're trimming the fat every way. And it's not just the VA, it's all federal organization. And to be honest with you, it's a lot of your private organizations in the private sector. They are just trimming the fat, trimming the fat, trimming the fat. So you say, Deonte, what are we supposed to do? Right now, to be totally honest with you, I think you really can't do anything for the most part, but be kind of like in a reactive state until the dust settles. And I don't know when that's going to be. Maybe the summer or something like that. You kind of see what direction everybody's going in, because no one knows the effect that the import-export tariffs and everything is going to have on anyone. You really don't know, because, like I talked on the live feed the other day, when the president was bringing up that there was new companies coming to the U.S. and they're putting they're just building factories, especially from the automotive sector in the U.S. My thing that I kept sticking with, I'm like, and I appreciate everybody that did leave a comment. My position is that when we look at it from a production standpoint and manufacturing standpoint, it's not the same what it was 40, 50 years ago. We know that when you go into a plant now, the plants now with more, they have innovation, or robots. You have technicians working. You don't have people on the damn assembly line like you got the Model T putting cars and doors and stuff like that. Everything's getting done around the clock. And another thing, when you look at it from, say, from a manufacturing production perspective, when things are coming from China or coming from Japan or India and things like that, they don't have the regulations we have here. We have unions, we have FMLA, we have breaks, we have rules, all kind of regulations. A lot of them don't have that. So because of that, fair, unfair, but just being honest, they can produce at a much higher rate. Let's take the quality of the product and everything out of the mix. Because we do have standards in this country, we can't say the items that are made in this country probably can be a better quality outside of cars, but some things probably can be a better standard in the U.S. because we do have certain inspections and things like that going on. But the rate of production is going to be totally different because, again, you have a lot of countries that import to us. I mean, that export to us. They don't have the regulations we have, and we can't compete to that. Like, I'm going to be exaggerating, but just say a woman could be in her third trimester right there working on a production floor, and again, she's putting in work, right? And then sometimes when it's like that, how can you compete with it? How can you compete? So it would be interesting to see. Do I think that we could get to a point where we don't have to be totally service-based, providing services to people? Anything's possible. I do not think that that's something that can change in a presidential term, though. Because you can't go from, buying everything and providing services for 30, 40 years, and then over 4 years you can get back. And I don't even think it's going to take, I think it'll be longer than that. I can stand corrected, but I really don't think that. But I do think you won't be able to see what direction you'll be able to head to until the summertime, at least the dust starts settling. And I would imagine around by the time June, July comes around, we can kind of see somewhat of the impact of tariffs. And that being if, they stay in place, they're negotiated, different terms come up, especially like when you start looking even with the neighboring countries being Mexico and Canada. So I think everybody's going to be kind of like in a reactive state. You see a lot of the private organizations, they're doing those layoffs. Because remember, like I said, again, guys, when you start talking about from an organizational standpoint, the number one expense that most companies have is going to be payroll. And it's also the easiest one to trim, right? So remember, like I said, if we top heavy here, if I'm paying all these people here, X amount of dollars because they've been here a certain amount of time, and I can bring folks in that's doing a similar level of the job. I mean, it makes sense from a business perspective, to lay these people off. They've been, they've been loyal, they work hard, they got things like that. From a math perspective, it makes sense to let them go. And you hate to think like that, because most of the times people will join an organization because you feel it's not going to move or think like that. They're not going to be cutthroat. They're going to be mindful that you got a family. They're going to be mindful that you're a person and everything like that. And it sounds good, and that's usually what's sold, but that's not usually the way it stays. So it'll be pretty interesting to see. And I just want to have that conversation with you guys tonight. We were talking about, does the shrinking the VA make sense? I understand. I don't think it's fair, but I understand why. They're just going through and doing that audit of it. Probably something they should have did years ago. Probably should have been systems should have been in place before. I know, like in the Army, and I think most of the military is like that. God knows I ain't been in the military over 20 years, but I would assume that, we used to call it, oh my God, what is it, RMP, RMCP, where you just kind of phase yourself out if you haven't made a certain rank. If you've been in the military so many years, you haven't made a certain rank. RCP, I think it's RCP, retention control point. I think that's it. If anybody knows for sure, please help me out. But anyway, if you hadn't made a certain rank or a certain level, they would chapter you out. And I think most of the military is like that. And I don't know if many of the federal agencies are like that. I know they have the different GS levels that a person can attain, but I don't necessarily know if they do any kind of phase out. But I wouldn't be shocked with Doge running everything now. They don't be heading in that direction. So especially a lot of performance-based meeting metrics and stuff like that. I even got a questionnaire about my VA provider, who's excellent. But, I think everybody's going through that. They're going through that whole audit to see the impact that people are making with doing it. And I don't think what everyone does at every organization can be measured with metrics all the time, right? I don't think that's the case, but you know how it is. When rules of the game, we play by them, and when they don't work for us, we can't complain then. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough and everything. But I just wanted a quick conversation with you guys this evening. Let me see if I see anything in the chat. You guys got any questions, comments, or anything like that? Do I see anybody? Any kind of questions or comments? We're asking the question: does shrinking the VA make sense? I don't see anybody with any questions or comments. Well, listen, everybody, I'm Friend of Audio, so I just wanted a quick conversation with you guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Appreciate all you guys. We got a lot of great information coming down the pipe. Make sure you go to Mr. Short Dollar on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel right now. We've been streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter. But the main hub is the Mr. Short Dollar YouTube channel, where we talk about personal finance, entrepreneurship, and investing. We have over 1,000 videos on the YouTube channel. We have an active grants playlist with anywhere around about 150 different grant opportunities at any given time. Well, listen, guys, best of luck to you guys. Take care. Thanks for all the love and support, and I will talk with you soon.
driver.